Hello everybody, it's Mr. Flutter here. I'm going to just do a quick review of the parts of the human ear and then talk about the function and how sound travels through the ear. So let's say that a sound is occurring and we're going to talk about the parts of the ear, okay? The sound is heading towards your ear. This structure right here, the outer ear, is called the pinna, okay? This is the pinna. And its function is just to catch the sounds and start to funnel them into the inside of your ear. The next structure is called the ear canal, or the auditory canal, okay? Ear canal. And again, it just kind of funnels the sound into the inner part of your ear. It also protects your inner part of your ear. There's hairs there, there's wax in there, and the function of the ear canal is kind of to protect and to keep things out of your ear, other than sound. The first thing that sound waves hit when it goes through the pinna and into the ear canal is the eardrum. The eardrum starts to vibrate. It's called a drum because it vibrates in a similar way that a drum does. That vibration is then transferred to three bones. The first bone is the hammer, okay? The second bone is the anvil, and the last bone is the stirrup, okay? And so, I mean, if you look at the function of the hammer takes the vibrations from the eardrum and transfers it to the anvil. The anvil takes the vibrations from the hammer and transfers it to the stirrup. And the stirrup then transfers those vibrations to this opening in a structure called the cochlea. That opening is called the oval window. Okay? So it takes the vibrations from the stirrup and transfers it into the cochlea. The next thing that happens inside the cochlea, there are channels filled with fluid. Okay, this is all filled with fluid all throughout the cochlea. It's called a watery liquid, and it takes that vibration and it transfers that vibration from the oval window into that fluid, so it creates a wave. Okay, in that cochlea and within that watery liquid, there are tiny little hair cells, and sometimes it's described as like how seaweed kind of flows in the ocean. A wave comes in and the seaweed flows. Well, a wave from that energy, from the vibration of the sound, is transferred in through the watery liquid. It causes those hair cells to move. And depending how loud the sound is or the frequency of the sound, those hair cells will move in different ways. The last thing that happens in terms of sound being heard is that those hair cells transfer electrical impulses through nerves and through the auditory nerve to the brain. So this goes to the brain. And then your brain interprets kind of what you're hearing, okay? A couple things that are not involved with hearing. I'm running out of room up here, but there's these tubes up here that are called semicircular canals. And we talked about this already. Those semicircular canals have to do with balance. So there's fluid in there, and when you spin around, you disrupt that fluid and you feel dizzy. That fluid is still flowing. Even though I've stopped, the fluid is flowing and it's telling your brain that you're in motion, okay? And that's why you feel dizzy. If you're tilted to the side, that fluid goes to the side, okay? And so on and so forth. So, nothing to do with hearing, but it deals with balance. The other thing is when these vibrations enter the cochlea through the oval window, they have to have a way out. And the way out is called the round window. And without the round window, these vibrations would travel through that watery liquid and they would hit the end of the cochlea and they would go back. And that would cause a real problem because you'd hear kind of an echo. You might hear this sound twice. So what the round window does is it relieves that energy that's flowing through the watery liquid. It relieves that wave, and so it absorbs it at the very end so that it doesn't reflect back in throughout the cochlea. And then the last part, there's a tube that drains kind of this middle ear section That's called the eustachian tube. Kind of a weird word. But the eustachian tube is actually connected to your throat, or to your nose and throat area, and it relieves pressure, okay? That goes to the throat. And if you are on a plane or if you're going up into elevation, your ears will feel pressure if you swallow or chew gum or yawn. You can equalize that pressure, and that's your eustachian tube. Has nothing to do with hearing, but it is part of the ear. Okay, so watch this a couple times. Be able to tell the path of hearing: pinna, ear canal, eardrum, hammer, anvil, stirrup, oval window, into the cochlea. This whole structure is the cochlea, through the watery liquid, which moves the hair cells, and those hair cells send a signal to the brain through the auditory nerve. Eustachian tube has to do with pressure. Round window has to do with absorbing that energy within the cochlea. And the semicircular canals have to do with balance. Hopefully this is helpful, and if you have any questions, make sure you ask. Thanks.